Okay, so Mark Atwood Show, Adventures in the Meat Soup. Hello, this is Dee Mackey, or McKay. How do I say it, Dee?
Mackey, actually.
Oh, Mackey. Oh,
Yeah.
brilliant. I got it wrong twice. This is a day for getting things wrong. I've been trying to get my brakes fixed for 4 weeks, and I've been to the same mechanic 4 times, and there's always a reason why you can't do it. So I've had to come back. So we're a little bit late starting today, but I really appreciate you coming on, Dee. And the reason for inviting you on is because you put up a wonderful Facebook post. I think it was about a week ago. Can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
And I shared it saying I couldn't have written it any better. So why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and what you're feeling at the moment? Because you're an empathic, intuitive energy type person, aren't you?
Yeah.
Do you have a title?
I don't know. I'm trying
What's
to
your job title?
I'm trying to figure that out as I go along. I don't really give myself a title because I feel like, just what we were chatting about before, you're doing the mom, you've all these different roles.
Yeah.
And then for me, particularly over the last few years, I've been working as a coach, and I love working with women. So stepping more into, empowering women, leadership, confidence, all that kind of stuff. So that's what I love to do. But then I've also been very intuitive since when I was younger, and I started to channel messages about 10 years ago, and I didn't tell anyone because it was like, what's going on here? So when I channel, I write. So I would start to get, energy through my hand, and I would write these messages. And at the time, probably for the last 7-8 years, they've been really for me. They've just been like words of comfort, words of support, especially going through difficult times, dark times, really shitty things happening. So my spiritual practice really grew so strongly. And I honestly say to people, I don't know what I would do without it. I don't know what I would do with if I didn't meditate, if I didn't journal, channel these beautiful messages, nature to me, all of those things, that connection to, it's like, I think this time on the planet is teaching us to come home to ourselves. Mm-hmm. We've been so disconnected. Mm-hmm. And I think, I talked about in that was a channel message I received before Christmas, but I just kept getting the thought it was so pertinent now again for people to reread it, because it is a time of huge awakening. And it is a time of revelation. It is a time of change. And I feel so changed. 2020 is like, dramatic changes within myself that maybe people don't notice on the outside, but inside of me, mm-hmm. who I'm becoming has grown tremendously. And I think that's what this journey is about, isn't it? It's about us growing individually within ourselves. And then, I was on a coaching call before speaking to you, and it was like, we want that ripple effect because there is so much chaos in the world. So we want to be anchored in to being that lighthouse, not just for our families and for the people around us in our community, but for ourselves. Because I know in my life, I've just been all over the place, lost, down, broken, given up. And this idea of like coming back to realizing my power lies within me. That's where it's at. And when I step into that, and I can teach other people to really just come back to themselves. Mm-hmm. But it takes a lot of courage to do that. I say that all the time, doesn't it? To look at our shadows, to look at our dark sides, to look at our bad habits, addictions, all the things that I think we all have. It's that dark light. It's that, it's that dichotomy, isn't it? And that polarity. And if we didn't have that, we wouldn't know one from the other. And so, so I guess that's where I'm at. And also, with the channel messages, it's taken me a long time to come out of the closet and share those. I started doing it last year.
It's funny you say the out of the closet thing, because that's how I feel like my YouTube channel was me coming out. Even though I talk about all the stuff that's been going on social media, I never talked about it on video. And then last year I started doing it it just blurted out, and I started talking about demons because I've been fighting demons for a long time. And I was like, oh my God, what have I done? And then suddenly all these people start coming to you and telling you, oh, that happened to me. And I'm like, wow, and it's quite amazing seeing the changes that everybody's going through. And it's all about the inner space.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I knew you'd be good. We've never met before, but I knew you'd be good.
We've never met before.
I just intuitively knew. Do you want to go, do you want to talk about that specific message that you put up, that I shared? Because it was so beautifully written and so positive that I think that right now people need that, because I've been out this morning and I'm seeing, I went to my favorite coffee van earlier, and the guy came outside to me, but he had a mask on and he did this. And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Come on, don't leave me hanging." I said, "I'm not doing that. What are you doing?" and it just, people. Then I went for a walk by the canal, and people were, pushing themselves to the side of the pavement, and I'm like, "Oh, it's so ridiculous." So all this fear. So positivity is what this is about today.
Yeah, I mean, what I want to say about all of what's happening is, I think I've gone through, actually since October, just a real sense of respect and recognizing the humanity in all of us, right? And I've been on a, I always believed I kind of was this intuitive child, and I, growing up in Ireland, I know you've Irish mother because I saw your YouTube
Irish grandmother,
and it, I always could see the bigger picture from a young age, and there's lots of reasons for that, but I'm not going to go into that. But in terms of the positivity, I think we just have to respect each other's journey and where other people are at, because at one point in my life I might have been doing the same thing. Yeah. Right. And I think there's this whole thing of, if we play in the fields of the lower vibrations of fear and worry and anxiety, we perpetuate that. So what I find myself doing now, instead of being triggered, and I'm not perfect and I do get triggered, but instead I come back, I was saying this to my client today as well. It's like, I keep saying, take a deep breath, Dee, rise above, see the bigger picture, see this from the angle that everyone is walking their path. Everyone has their path to walk. And I've been walking my path, and it wasn't perfect, and I haven't been perfect. And I've done stupid things and shitty things, and I've been in fear, massive fear. So it's like, I'm seeing those people, and I just have to send them, it's this whole, when you come home to yourself as well, it's about opening your heart center, isn't it? It's like cracking right open the inside of you. And when we do that, and that's painful, isn't it? When we do the whole coming home and we crack open and we look at the things that we don't want to see. And it's about examination. What am I afraid of? If people just started asking themselves, what am I really afraid of here? What is this fear about? But I think sometimes people don't realize that they are in fear in the first place. Mm-hmm. And it's about this. And the awakening for me is a process of becoming more aware. It always is. When we step into spiritual development, personal development, we are becoming more aware of our thoughts, emotions, feelings. We're processing things. We're just recognizing, okay, so I had an experience in a supermarket last week where I literally thought I was going to have an anxiety attack, because it was this humongous Tesco extra. There were just people everywhere. There were masks. I don't wear a mask. I felt the energy probably of it all. It was like, it was just full on. And I came out of there and I was like, for me to stand in my own sovereignty, I made a choice that I'm not going to that supermarket anymore. So it's taking your power back, and it's doing the things that help you in the moment. And I think those are, for me, it's like, get outside, get in nature. And for the people that are in fear, maybe they won't be in a month. Maybe they're going to start thinking, is this how I want it? Do I want to cross the road? Why am I crossing the road? But it's subliminal programming as well, isn't it? From, what I know you talk about, and watching the news. I stopped watching the news quite a few months ago, and
I stopped years ago.
Yeah. I rarely watched it, but when I did, I literally it didn't resonate anymore. And this is something I've been talking about for a while, not just with myself, but with other people, is sovereignty. We've got to come back to our sovereignty. Is this resonating? How do I feel when I watch this? How do I feel when I say this? How do I feel when I behave like this? And so, if your behaviors are making you feel awkward and uneasy and weird, then maybe look at them. Do I need to be doing them? you know, and I get that. I have that happen to me today. I just got out of the car and then I thought about it and I thought maybe that lady was crossing the road anyway. How am I to know that? I'm assuming that maybe she was avoiding me. So I'm perpetuating that paradigm. What if she was going to cross the road anyway and it just happened that I was there? So it's also how we look at things, isn't it? Because we can get caught up in it all as well. We can get caught up in, oh, they looked at me funny because I wasn't wearing a mask, or they crossed the road. And I think it's like, is that way of thinking raising the consciousness on this planet? Because that's what this time is all about, isn't it? It's about you know, I'm not even going to say that word ascension because many people don't know what it is, and it's about raising ourselves into higher states of consciousness. And what does that mean? It means you know, coming from that higher perspective. It means coming from a place of love, of compassion, of understanding, of acceptance, of, you know, recognizing we're all here. And I come back to this, I think maybe it's where I'm at. We're all on our own path and journey. And the person that was in that really fearful space, maybe in a month will be like, shit, I can't believe I was like that. Like, what was I thinking? You know, because that happens, doesn't it? Because you're jolted into this, like, what the fuck is going on? And I think that is going to happen massively this year. You know, 2020 was the real sort of starting place, the real kind of domino. It was like, you know, boom, our lives were just like, you know, everything changed last year. And I think that's a positive thing, as much as it's been tough going, hasn't it, in many respects?
Yeah, I mean you could say that. Yeah.
It's been tough going, and people, you know, I think I think when I always say this, when shit hits the fan, it's when things go down, when bad things happen. I've learned through my own life experiences that they happen because they're showing us something within us that we need to look at and address. You know, I was working with someone today and she's came to me because she was getting bullied at work by a man. And I said, but if he didn't show up in your life, he wouldn't be showing you what you need to work on and address, because there's deeper things going on here. Because, you know, you're not standing up for yourself. You're not owning your sovereignty. You're not having boundaries in place. So all these layers go, you know, underneath the surface of why someone is struggling in their lives, or in fear, or lacking confidence. So I see all of this as paving a new pathway, paving a new way, not only, you know, for the world, but a new way for ourselves to operate, to live from, to think, to perceive, to shift, to activate within ourselves, you know, because this is about an activation, isn't it, of a new earth.
Yeah.
Like a new, and it's not just here in the UK, it's a global thing, and it's an energetic vibration, you know. And that's, you know, your question coming back to energy and being I always thought an empath was a pain in the ass, to be honest with you, for years and years and years. It's like, oh my God, why do I just feel everything and sense everybody and know everything? And then I had to do the work on protecting my energy, you know, because you are drained if you are an empath and you don't know how to manage that and navigate it. Because, you know, growing up for me, I think I was even more hyper aware just of my childhood. So I was always like, I could really read people quickly. I could perceive things, which I now know to be my intuition. So my intuition was really, really strong, which it is for most people, but we don't learn how to evolve it and expand it and grow it and look to our intuition as our guiding light. You know, our intuition is our lighthouse, isn't it?
It is.
Our heart is. And that's what I say about this whole heart, you know, cracking us open. That's what needs to happen. I think that is what is happening for many people.
Cracking open is a good way of describing it, because it is like it's like slightly painful.
Yeah. And going back to my post, you know, when I receive these messages, I have no idea what they're going to be. So I just sometimes it just automatically comes out in one take. I don't even look at it. That's it. So that for me is what, you know, I connect to Jesus, Mother Mary, my own parents who've passed away sometimes come through. It's like a team, and they come through, and they give me these messages, and I just didn't share them before, but I know I've been, you know, someone put a post up. Do you ever feel like this time on earth you've been preparing for all your life? It's like, yes.
Yeah, I know. I was the same. I saw that. I was like, yeah, absolutely.
It's like yes, because, you know, I'm putting out these things now, and, you know, I hid them for years and years and years, and it's, you know, and I always say, if one person is impacted in a positive way, I'm serving others.
That is actually one of the great things about social media.
Yeah.
It's amazing, actually.
Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful thing. So, you know, they don't come from me, because I've written messages over the years, and I'm like, oh my good God, there's just no way in the world that I would write this. It's not in the type of language I would write. It's not. So it felt like, you know, when I wrote that before Christmas, it felt like a really important message, because it is this time of revelation. It is this time of pulling the rug up and looking. And I say this not just globally, with, you know, paradigms and systems and, you know, all of the stuff that you talk about, but it's pulling the rug for ourselves, to look at ourselves, because what is this whole time is about us, you know, coming home to who we truly are. Like, who are we? You know, we're not just a body. We're not, you know, we're so much more than that. And I think we've forgotten that, you know, we've forgotten the power and the potential and the connection that we have to all that is the creator, all of that stuff, you know. And I think, you know, when people start to, you know, just kind of get that, you know, we are more than we think we are. We're so much more, you know, we're just so much more than this here. You know, we've got so many abilities, so many magical things about us, and our ability to connect. And I think, you know, that's the hardest part, isn't it, of this year and 2020, is, you know, just this lack of connection with people. But in saying that, it's happening online, and we're lucky to have that. It's and there's all these, you know, as you call it, digital warriors, and people that are in alignment with each other and resonate with each other. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And you know, we've got to respect who's in what tribe and who resonates with what, because that's their journey, you know. So yeah, regarding the message, I receive these, and I feel it's just what I'm called to share, and whoever reads that and resonates with it, then I've done my work. I feel like I'm just a conduit, you know, and that conduit feels like it's getting turned on now, and there's more that will come. And
that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
That's why I shared it, because it just resonated. I was like, boom, you know.
Thank you so much for sharing it and getting in touch.
Well, no, it's a wonderful thing, and I think we're all part of the same consciousness, and we're all playing these different roles, and it is a wonderful thing to. I said to my son yesterday, I said, I finally know why I'm here, and you know, I've been struggling with that for years and years, and you know, I've had multiple careers, and now I'm a poet, which cracks me up.
Amazing.
It really cracks me up. And the thing about magic is so true. One of my younger sons, we were out in the garden earlier, and there was a beautiful rainbow there, and I said, look at that. And he says, no, Dada, that's just your thing in your brain that's to create. I said, don't ruin the magic with facts and figures. Come on.
Yeah. Just be present. Be present to it.
Just look how beautiful that is. Look, there's the end of it. And I was this morning, I was talking to my eldest son, and I still do drive along in the car. If I see somebody in a mask driving a car, I go, oh, for fuck's sake, take the mask off. And I did this about 4 or 5 times this morning, and I turned around to him and I said, look, you need to understand, I'm shouting at them because I love them. I know that doesn't make sense.
Love, is it?
It's like, I just want them to stop. I just want it to be over. But it is a process, isn't it? It's and something else you said that was interesting is that I don't know how long ago it was, but it might be 10 years ago or so. But I remember being at this It was either at a retreat or a fasting week or a ceremony or something. And they were talking about, the people there were all talking about healing. And I remember thinking, well, I don't need healing. There's nothing wrong with me. And I had no idea how much healing I needed to do.
Yeah.
And you know, why was I there?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine.
I was there. Yeah, I didn't think I needed healing. And yeah, you're absolutely right that we have to remember that everybody's at different stages.
Stages.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. And it's like, you know, there's people way more ahead of the game than me or you, and there's people way behind. And I think that's where I come back to at the moment for me. And that keeps me sane, because, you know, when you go down the triggered road and the angry road and the not understanding other people's place and where they're at, then that takes me out of my alignment, and it takes me out of my power. And what I've realized is, well, actually, you know, if I do that, then I'm vibrating that lower consciousness. Ultimately, it's a fact, aren't we? You know, shouting and screaming and pissed off and angry. We're perpetuating that, and I don't want to do that. I want to perpetuate a change here, and however slow it's going to be, or however quick, whatever it is going to be, is that, well, whatever role I can play, you know, in my imperfection, I will try and do that, because I will get triggered and I will have days where I want to scream, but I come home to that. You know, and I think one of the greatest things about our emotions is, it's just, when we look at our emotions and allow ourselves to actually feel them, they run through us so much faster.
Yeah.
You know, it's when we avoid them, or when we're, you know, or when we kind of make them wrong, you know, like, what's wrong with me? Why am I feeling like this? All of that stuff. And it's like, you know, what I've learned to do with those negative emotions is allow them to be, you know, yeah, I'm having a tough day or a tough moment, or, you know, maybe I just need to go to bed for an hour, you know, or maybe I just need to have a cry, you know, maybe I'm just listening to myself and what I'm experiencing in every moment, or every, do you know what I mean, throughout my day.
Totally.
And doing what I can. If it, you know, for me, getting outside is critical to sanity. It's like, if I don't get outside, yeah, I really feel that. It's like one of my non-negotiables every day. And I think we need non-negotiables to navigate this. Like, what are the things that if I do this stuff, I stay as sane, as aligned, as, you know, empowered as I can be, without losing my shit, and without feeling so frustrated and fed up and pissed off and wanting to, you know, punch a few people, you know, particularly people that are, you know, making decisions on behalf of us as well. So it's, I think what I've learned in my life is, the only power that I have is the power of myself within me. I can't change anyone. I can't control anyone. You know, we cannot do that. The only person that we can do that is within ourselves. And that has an impact. You know, when it's like, you know, when you change your energy and your vibration, other people feel it. It's like, you don't have to prove anything. You don't have to scream and shout. You are that essence, and that essence is felt. And I think that's where our power lies as people, in terms of energy and frequency and vibration, is that we become that energy, frequency and vibration, and that is felt by others. And I know there's all these statistics about the love vibrate, and I don't know any of that. It's like, but I know it's true, isn't it? It's like the love vibration is the most powerful pulse on the planet. My door is going, but I'm just going to ignore it. But yeah, and that's what this is about, isn't it? It's about the vibration and what one we're sitting in and what one we're staying in, versus where we actually want to be and how we want to feel. And it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of, you know, guts, and it takes a lot of practice to do it. It takes a lot to not be in our ego, you know. It takes a huge amount of self-awareness as well, to know, oh shit, I really was in my ego there the other day, or when I was speaking to somebody. And I always say this as well, it's about recognizing that, and maybe just picking up the phone to someone and going, I'm sorry, I was, you know, I was in my ego, or I did speak out of turn, or whatever it is. So again, yeah, it's self-awareness is critical. at the moment, particularly.
You've pretty much summed up my experiences. I feel like I've been beaten around the face with a wet fish for the last 10 years. It's just like the layers and the layers, and I'm like, there's more. It just keeps going, and I'm like,
yeah, universe, I've had enough lessons. I've had enough.
Yeah, I'm like, are we done yet?
Yeah. Just when you think you are done, you're not. And I think that's part of the truth of life, is we're constantly evolving and expanding and growing and shedding. And it's like we're always shedding our skin, aren't we? We're always shedding our beliefs, where there's new structures being built within us, new, the stuff that I know now that I didn't know a year ago is like, boom, it's like phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's been massive.
Yeah.
So I just think, like, and that's where I talk about this inner growth and this inner awareness and knowledge, and it's just huge. And I think when you recognize that, that you're evolving and expanding as a human being.
Maybe we should call this the Great Shed instead of the Great Awakening.
The Great Shed. Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's a massive shed. Huge.
Yeah.
Beliefs, stories, paradigms, structures, systems. It's like, I feel like it's like we're creating this brand new foundation. It's like we're creating a whole new foundation to build that new world from. It's kind of like the phoenix rising, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I'm getting the tingle as you're saying that. And I've been noticing myself, I mean, there's a number of things I've been noticing myself in the last few weeks. Firstly, that I've had this ongoing kind of life review where these memories just pop into my head, and then I get the message, do you understand why that happened now? And then I go, oh yeah, and then I process it, and it's like I'm having this whole life review. It's really, really,
life reviews are awesome.
Interesting. It's
interesting.
Really,
yeah.
It's just phenomenal, because things I've just not thought about for years.
Yeah.
And then I found that, I think, this 10 months ago, I'd be sat up until 2-3 a.m. watching every press conference, trying to soak up all of these channels and information from people, and just sort of like, validating the fact that I knew this was coming for 10 years, and here it is. And
yeah,
but in this really heightened state of trying to soak up as much information as possible, and it was actually exhausting. But in recent weeks, I've been totally thinking about the future and how we rebuild all of this. Everything you just said there. In fact, I had a discussion this morning with some guys about, the new systems that we need to put into place, and the new philosophies about how we interact, and how we, even down to how we eat and what we eat, and how we interact with people and how we look after people. And it's immensely exciting when you start imagining it, because I'm imagining it, I know it's coming.
Absolutely. I love this whole topic of vision and imagination. It's amazing, because if you can imagine it, then it's possible.
Well, it's on the way.
Yeah.
If you start seeing it, it's already coming.
Yeah.
It's manifesting.
Yeah.
And everything, and I'm just drawn to people that are talking about the future now, rather than the COVID stats or anything, all that kind of stuff, or impeachment and all that kind of. It's like that's all a noise now to me. That's sort of playing itself out, and I already absolutely know the future is going to be amazing. So I'm kind of not worried about that anymore.
And that's the peace that we get from our coming home to ourselves. That is, because most people will say, I just want peace of mind, because most people's minds are chaotic and all over the shop, and, going in loops and on hamster wheels. And it's like, when we have, and that's that inner knowing, isn't it? No matter what is happening, I have that inner knowing that some magical things are coming, and for not just for me, but for other people, for the planet. And then we can sort of navigate the stuff, the 3D stuff, can't we? What we're really seeing and feeling and experiencing on the collective. But when you go back, and I think this is something that I've really started to focus on for myself, is like, what do I want to create? Who is that? This is something I was saying in coaching, is like, who do you want to become? Who is that version of you? Who is she or he? Because that's what you want to focus on. And then it's about bridging that gap, isn't it? To how do I actually step in to the shoes of that person Because I think that's one of the most powerful things we can do, is just that vision of who we want to be. And it collapses time then, because it's like, oh, I can see it, I can feel it, I can, I literally can taste, I can touch it. So then that then really enables and empowers you to make better choices and decisions that support who that version is that you want to be, and I think that is a powerful way to manifest faster, and just cut out all the crap of goals and all of these things, because fundamentally, if we don't connect to the bigger piece and the bigger vision, and really the feelings that brings to you, and just everything, the essence, all of it, it's really juicy, isn't it? It's really magical. Yeah. It's like, who am I becoming? Who do I want to be? And then once you really know that, then you're like, okay, well, you know what? Drinking 3 tins of Coke a day isn't her. And I was like, dude, I don't even know where that example came from. But you know what I mean? It's like simple choices. They don't align anymore. They fall away. And that's what I find with people, is that when you know who you want to be and who you're becoming, you're getting into that higher self, and you're coming out of the ego, you're having those, you're shedding. And so the choices and the decisions and the lifestyle changes just become more effortless. They flow. They're not hard work, because so many people find change hard, and setting goals, and then you let yourself down, and it's like, because you're very in that,
you're always beating yourself up and judging yourself when
cycle.
Yeah.
So I think when you start to look at, well, who is that vision and the imagination piece, like you're saying, that's really powerful, because it's like, how would she run her house? How would she lead herself? And leadership is a massive area of interest for me for a long time, is, our own self-leadership. Once, we nail that, then we're able to externally be better leaders and managers and business owners and so forth, because we're really leading ourselves.
Well, I ran a business with lots of employees. I started a business and created a business. I had lots of employees, and I got really interested in this leadership thing, because I was trained to be a leader by the military, and I was a natural leader, but I was also a bit of an idiot. I got people lost in the Cairngorms once. Snowstorm. I was a pilot, and I got during my training, I got a turn 90 degrees wrong, and I ended up delaying 7 passenger jets over Heathrow because I had to blag my way back. So I've always been a kind of lead from the front thing, and I've had to undo all of that. And so when I had this business, I was really interested in Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why. Have you ever read that?
No.
Really interesting book. And that was about peeling back the layers of why people do stuff. So that in that particular case, it was like, why do you come to work? And people would say, to earn money. And we go, no. Why do you want to earn the money?
Yeah. And
then it would come down to something like, because I really want to buy this Harley Davidson, or I want to get married and live in a house, or I want to, and then it comes down to the emotional driver about why. And once you understand that, you become a better leader.
Totally. It's about connecting purpose and passion to what you do.
Instead of the list of, I want to earn this much money, and I want to, be this weight, and I want to, live in this house. It's, and it's actually really simple, isn't it? Once you peel that back, because it's left brain to right brain.
Totally. It's a flip. And it's also it's not being about your ego, because I think one of the major flaws in the corporate world and in business is everyone's coming from their ego.
Totally.
And if they just left their ego at the door, it would transform every business, every office, every meeting, I say this to, clients. If you when you leave your ego at the door and you walk in your higher state, in your most powerful self, and coming from your heart and open, you're going to have the most empowering meetings. You're going to be a leader that people want to, be around and admire and go, wow, she's amazing, he's amazing. And I think because we're so, one of the things I love teaching people is the mindset piece, because most people don't know they have this voice in their head, like literally running their world. That voice never shuts the F up, from the moment you wake up in the morning. And when they realize, oh my God, that voice actually isn't me, it's this aspect of my mind that I just assumed was me, because I got, I literally got so pissed off when I found out about this. I was like, why are we not teaching this at school? But then you go into the whole, why are we not teaching, this at school? We know why it's on purpose.
Yep.
And it's like, I just never understood the education system in Ireland. I literally was like, this is like horrific. It was so stressful. I hated school. I bunked off all the time. I was always in trouble.
Good. I'm going to make sure my kids watch this because they love them.
I never got it. I just thought school had the opportunity to be the most inspirational, amazing time of your life, but instead it was the most boring, soul-destroying aspect of my life, and I couldn't wait to get out of it. And it was like, and I when I started doing all this work and spiritual work and going on my own healing journey, retraining to be a coach, all that stuff, and I learned about, my mindset. I actually learned what actually it is, how it works. I literally felt hard done by. I was like, I wish I'd known this when I was a teenager, because teenage self-hate, anger, all the things, and the negative thoughts and all of that stuff. If I'd have known about what I know now, it would have been a different game. It would have been a completely different game. And I just think this is, I hope this changes. I hope this stuff is going to be taught in schools, and,
Oh, it is. We're going to create it.
We've got to be part of that.
I was watching one of my early videos last night about the quantum education system, this idea that I had. And I was watching it last night going, that's actually quite good. It's like 3-4 months ago. And I still feel I'm so passionate about birth and kids getting it. We got to get it right with them for the future of the human race. And we need people like you in there forming this new system. In fact, I was talking to some guys this morning, and one of them, we were moaning about the school system, and this is a good school that it's one of the best schools around here, based on Steiner and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, it's not a mainstream school. And he was moaning about them and saying, I'm going to set up a new school, and I'm just going to get a caravan, and we'll just take the kids into the woods, to the beach, and if we're outside all the time and we're just inspiring them, and if the weather gets bad, they can go in the caravan for a bit. And I was like, that sounds great. It sounds like a great start, so I'm seeing it manifesting all around me, that people are starting to think about, because we're locked down. I mean, for so long, people are now starting to see, well, actually, this could be done a lot better.
And also parents are getting a chance to see what their children are actually being taught, and like they're kind of going, oh, okay, because you send your kid to school and you don't actually know half the time, because they don't tell you. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really good. I think it is. A change is needed, and it's just about integrating mind, body, and spirit. That's what I think all this is about, isn't it? It's just, there's been elements of our humanness left out. There's been elements of our spirit, even down to like not doing enough physical activity at school. I remember when I was at school, it was like one lesson a week. We need to be outside every day. We need to be getting exercise every day. We need to be doing those things, because they aid your mental health. And I feel so sorry for teenagers. I thought it was bad when I was a teenager.
Much worse now.
It's so much worse now. It's so much worse now. And again, it's down to not knowing the mindset stuff. It's all this.
Well, it's fear as well. People then leave their kids outside. When I was a kid, I was thrown out at 8 a.m. and I didn't get back till 9 p.m. When I was 5 years old.
It's very different, isn't it? And and it's and I think a lot of children, but teenagers, they know something doesn't feel right. They're kind of not happy. They're out of who they are, and the schooling system has a lot to do with that. It's taking away your uniqueness. It's taken away your spirit, because that's what I see with some of it's there. They're these kids, and then it's just kind of chipped away. To form and to.
I agree with that stuff. I've noticed in Ireland, since I've lived here, in all of the towns, that the kids, when they're not in school uniform, their clothes and their hairstyles are all the same. Nobody's you know, when I was a kid, it was goths and skinheads and rockers, and everybody had a different, you know, different style. And everybody's got exactly, it's all just very uniform, this hive mind collective, which is kind of a satanic thing from my perspective. But I just want to tell them, you know, you're free, you're a genius, you're amazing, you know. But the conditioning is so,
because you want to be like everybody else, but actually no, you've got to be like yourself. And that's the courage piece, isn't it? To be authentic, to be who you are as a teenager, and to trust that inner knowing, because I think we all have that inner knowing, but then we start to doubt it when people, you know, the grown-ups around us, you know, challenge that and want you to conform or believe a certain set of beliefs or ways of being, and it can just get beaten out of you, you know, whether it's parents or whatever. So it's, I think, you know, it's difficult to be a teenager in these times, and particularly with social media pressures. And I think what you're saying about the whole looking alike and conforming is because of social media.
Yeah.
There's a look that you've got to look like, there's a pose, there's just this thing, if I don't dress like that, I'm not going to be like them. And again, this comes down to this whole comparison thing, you know, comparing yourself to others. And I think it's, you know, when you start to kind of go, what is the point of that? You're losing your identity, you're losing who you are. But, you know, I know as a teenager, it's hard to be in that space, isn't it? When you want to be liked and you want to have friends and you want to fit in, but it's part of this, it's part of the journey.
Well, I'd say the Mickey, because, you know, my kids are all like, oh, I've got to buy these Nikes and I've got to buy this Adidas thing, and it's all about the brands. And I'm like, you know, I tell them the joke that when I was smaller, we were so poor that my dad would buy me a plain white T-shirt and then put 3 stripes on with a pen. That was my Adidas top.
Yeah, we didn't have that. I didn't have any of that growing up, brands, and, you know, it was just like, no, it wasn't part of my world either. You know, I said to my son, like, we had 2 channels at one point, RTE1 and RTE2. That was what was on the box.
two choices of brainwashing.
Yeah, 2 choices.
100. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, so it's interesting times. It's interesting times. And, you know, they're not always, you know, I say exciting, and some days they feel, you know, some days I feel so excited about the future and about what's possible and the changes. And then, you know, you do get into a space sometimes where you have those moments where you feel the collective fear and feel the collective worries, and, you know, the measures and the limitations that are put on us. And that can take you down some days, and you're only human, you know. But on the whole, I feel very excited about the future. I feel there's huge changes coming our way. There's huge, as I said in that post, revelation, disclosure, and truth. And I think that's what we really need right now, is truth, you know.
Well, I couldn't have put it better myself.
About everything, you know, it's just, you know, I was saying this to someone, I feel like I've been duped a lot. You know, we have that word, that duping. I just feel like I've been duped, and
well, you have, you know,
by so many people that I didn't think were duping me, you know. And it's like, shit, I've been duped. How did I let it happen?
Well, you know, in a lot of cases they were duped and they don't know that they're duping you.
Yeah, so it's a cycle, isn't it? It's a cycle, and you know, that's what this time is about. It's breaking, you know, I think I used that word shackles. It's like it's breaking the shackles time, because we are breaking patterns. We're breaking, you know, even ancestral stuff. Massive, isn't it? It's like, I mean, I've done a lot of work on my ancestral, you know, just spiritually work. And it's like, whoa, you know, in my lineage, my maternal lineage, it's like, wow, what they went through. Shit. I know. It's crazy. You know, I'm breaking that cycle. Massively breaking that cycle. And that feels really powerful to me, you know, that I'm not repeating that. There's no bloody way I'm repeating that one. And especially like in Ireland, you know, wow, the repression and the guilt of the Catholic Church, and the, you know, even there's, you know, I did see on the, I look at online news once a day, but I, you know, something close to my heart is, you know, the unmarried pregnant women in Ireland that were sent to, these Magdalene laundries, and apparently this
I saw it on the front page of the papers today.
Massive report has come out about it. And I remember going, when I lived in London, in Hackney, I remember going to see Philomena on my own, just to get out of the house, me time. And I was in like floods of tears in the film. When I walked home, when I got home to my partner, I was just like, I can't believe this happened. And this is supposed to be, God and religion, and that's a whole other subject matter to talk through for another time. But it's massive, the conditioning, the guilt, how people have really disconnected from their spirituality because of, the church. And I know the church gives people a lot of solace, and my mother was very, very Catholic, but there was a huge amount of guilt with it. It was a huge amount, massive, crazy. And so that to me is a really big paradigm, a really massive paradigm that was just so fundamentally flawed and inhumane, and nothing that is representative of God and love. And
it was designed that way.
Humanity, it's just
that way. And the Philomena story only scratches the surface. It was much worse than that. But
my mum had, as holy as my dear mother was, she had terrible stories about being mistreated by nuns and the religion when she was a child, and heartbreaking stuff. You're just like, heartbreak. And I think that is what has happened, over the last centuries, is the closure of our hearts, the closure of, that part of us. Because if we had an open heart, we would never treat a child in that way. We would never treat people in that way. And I think that's the shackles, that's the walls that were built, and that was done by these powers and these whatever you want to call it, religions, and the bigger picture of it all.
Principalities of darkness.
Yes, the principalities of darkness. Yes. So and I think it's good that all this is coming out. It's been coming out a long time, particularly about Ireland, massive amounts.
Ireland's a special case.
Yeah, it really is. It's huge, and the damage that's been done. So I think there's a lot of healing to be done in Ireland. Mm-hmm. A lot of healing, and a lot of forgiveness work as well, which is hard. But I think forgiveness is where your liberation is, and your emancipation. It really is.
Forgiveness is where your liberation. That's a t-shirt. Definitely bring out a t-shirt.
It is. Forgiveness was one of my life lessons, and it really did set me free from a lot of torment and torture and anger and resentment.
It's great to get rid of those things. The great shed. Not
shed. The great shed. It is a shed. Because when you shed, I feel like that's all I've been doing is shedding. Oh, that and more. And if stuff comes up again, it's like, okay, it just needs to be looked at and loved, and it'll go. It's like, don't hate what you see about yourself. That's another thing I've learned. Look at it with love, because it served you at some point. It was there for a reason. Whether it was by choice or by, your environment, the things you were taught, whatever it is. It's like, and I think that's something I've been doing. I've been looking at, and I always think when paradigms and beliefs keep coming up, it's like, oh, they're just fighting to keep hold of you, and it's like, no, I'm shedding, because I want to feel liberated. I want to be free of all that. I don't want to have those things over me. It's like cord cutting. It's like get your imaginary sword, or ask Archangel Michael to just cut all those cords. It's really, really powerful.
So how do people connect with you, Dee?
Well, people can connect with me on, I guess, Facebook for now. I have thought about starting a channel, so maybe this is
I think you should.
maybe this is
I think you should.
Maybe this is the universe going, so Facebook. I'll give you my website or my email. So
website.
I'm not on Twitter. I don't really use Instagram. I'm not really into Twitter, all that stuff. So at the moment, Facebook, email, and I'm considering a channel.
I think you should do it. It's actually life-changing when you do it, because you start, it's incredible, actually. the way that you connect with people.
Yeah.
And it's very humbling, and also it's amazing. I mean, the power of the word is super important, but if you can, audio visual is
yeah, it's beautiful having these conversations.
Oh, it really is. It really is.
And it's just free flowing as well.
Yeah.
And I love to talk. I'm Irish. It's
Cool.
great.
Irish blood.
And the other thing about this whole time as well is to have fun, to lighten up.
That's what
it feels so heavy.
I'm saying to everybody, we've got to have fun. We've got to dance through this.
Yeah.
An angel. I think I was speaking to someone, Susan, yesterday, and she said, angels can fly because they are light of heart.
Light. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really, really important.
And it's like it's having fun, even in the homeschooling. How can we make today fun? Just even asking that question: what can we do that's fun? What can we do that's silly? What can we do, just to lighten up? Because there is that sense of being serious. And
yeah, well, I tend to try and do stupid things. It doesn't matter, even that makes a kid laugh, and
it makes me laugh.
Well, you changed the whole day then, haven't you?
Yeah. So it's about having those sort of daily intentions. How do I want my day to go? What do I want it to look like?
And create it.
And create it as best you can. And obviously, it doesn't always go that way. Sometimes, when you have children, does it, and stuff crops up. But I think it's just doing the best that you can and not being hard on yourself.
That's wonderful.
It's very easy to beat yourself up with a big stick. And so anyone watching that is doing that, stop.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Have you ever seen that sketch? Do you remember that sketch with Bob Urquhart in the 70s?
No.
He's this psychiatrist, and a woman walks in and she goes, I've got all these issues. He goes, okay, look, I just want to tell you, I charge $5. It's a fixed fee. You have to pay up front, and that's the deal. And she goes, okay. So then she goes, well, anyway, it started with my father, and now I feel like, and he just goes, stop it! She's like, what? That's it, $5, please. She goes, what, is that the treatment? Yeah, that's the treatment. It's worth looking it up because it's fantastic. But look, it's been a real pleasure meeting you, and thank you.
It's been a delight. Thank you so much for getting in touch.
I'm sorry I made you wait half an hour. I had one of those days, but everybody watching this, go and connect with Dee. You can't beat that kind of, there's a good hour for your soul. So thank you very much, Dee. I'm going to stop recording now.